Hello, in this video I want to demonstrate my SQL Builder, which is the second of two files I keep for keeping links, DAO table links directly to the database. And in this one, a little different than the table wrappers, this one you can build complex SQL queries. You can build multi-table queries, you can build action queries. It's very flexible, and you can do that in both DAO and ADO. So let me get into it and show you kind of how it works. Now, similar to the table builder, I brought in our four tables that we're working with, but also similar to the table, I say builder, I meant table wrapper. In a real world application, there'll be a lot more than four tables in here. But in this one, the difference between them in this one is all the code you see here that's all there ever will be. In this one, you'll just keep adding table links to increase your ability to access more tables. But in the other one, in the table wrappers, every table you add, you should add a wrapper for it. So a little different. So basically all of these class modules that end in the word builder are ways to actually build SQL without writing it all out. And so it's just basically, it's a convenience method. Then the other things are basically return functions so that, I could just get out of certain processes if a record doesn't exist or something like that, for example. So similar to the table wrappers, I have a global objects module, but different from that one. In that one, it was all return functions that would return you a new instance of a class. In this one, these are all public variables. So I start all these with GO, global object. And so anywhere in an application, whether you're in this file or you're in another file that is referencing this file, you can just type in GO, hit the control space bar, and up will come all of my global objects that you can use. You don't need to instantiate anything. They're using the new keyword, but that new keyword is in the file where the code exists, and so that's acceptable. And these class modules, there's another little difference. These are all have private instancing. So that's the way that works when you're using global objects like these. Okay, so that's my global objects. Now let's go ahead and get to a unit test. This is the idea. I'll write out another one just real quick. I'll just call it test 2. Private sub. Okay, so you just type in GORST select is the one that I use the most. And you almost always create a with block with that. In fact, I have this in some code snippets where I don't have to type it out like this. I just run the code snippet, and it gives me a block that looks very similar to this right there. So if I can get my typing down this morning. The idea is that whenever you're working off of this object, you just press the dot, and you have, from clause. Remember, the other one didn't have a from clause because they were table wrappers. They already knew what the from clause was going to be. But you have a group by clause, a having clause. You can open the record set, order by clause, select clause, true record count, where clause. So similar things like we've seen in the table wrappers, but this one you simply build the SQL. So here's an example up here where I've done it. I built the select clause. I told it I want to see these two fields. Now, again, you can just put the asterisk in here to get all the fields, or you can omit the select clause altogether, and that'll fill in the asterisks for you. The from clause, this one is required in this particular application. And then you got something like a where clause, which you can, this one I did a little different. I said, show me anything with the word soft in it, so that it should bring back Microsoft. Let me get rid of this code so it doesn't create a compile error or anything, and save those changes. Open up my immediate window, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this process right here. Okay, I had to pause the video there because I was running into that handshake issue again. But like before, now that the handshake issue is done, and I would like to repeat that that is not a reflection of my code, that is a reflection of my installations of either SQL Server, Access, or both. I'm probably going to have to uninstall and reinstall both of them fresh. But anyway, now that I've made the handshake with the server, you can see running this is very, very fast indeed. And if I comment this where clause out, running it still fast. Now I get all three of those records that we've been expecting. So this is basically how you build a query. Moving on, some of these over here you see that are EXEs. This is so that you can build action queries. If I did this GOEEXE, let's say I wanted to build an update query. All right, so again, I have a set clause that I can put in here, an update clause, update table name, and a where clause. And then I can get back how many records have been affected. Of course, I have to execute it first. This one does not return a record set, but it can return the records affected directly if you want. Otherwise, you can always access the records affected in that property. Now, these two up here are both append queries because you can make an append query from a select query, or you can make an append query from a values query, or from a values set. Now, the only action query that's missing in here is make table query. I never really feel the need to build a make table query in code. If I want to make a table, I just make the table. If I need to do it from a query, I go ahead and I set that up in Microsoft Access's query builder, right here. So I never need to do make table in code, but I often have to update a file, or a record rather, append records, delete records. So all my action queries are right here. And again, I don't have time to demonstrate it in a short video, but all of these work with ADO or DAO. You simply tell it what type it is, and it'll work from there. All right, that'll be the end of this video. The next one coming up, it'll be about using information like this and the table wrappers in data forms.